Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed and we have been reviewing the pyramid of understanding the human soul that we are using to take on this challenge at the end of the book that we have been reading for about 160 episodes. That is defeating Satan himself. We have been wondering why this is how the book ends. Why would such a masterpiece of a text end with this kind of a conversation? Everything leading up to where we are in the book has prepared us to recognize what happens within a dialectic when someone is triggered. Because defeating Satan isn't simply a matter of outlining the arguments to show that it's bad. There has to be, of course, an art in how we structure that. That's our dialectic. But we also have to recognize human beings who have grown up for the first 18 years of their lives. All they have been told is you have to do as you're told, otherwise Satan will bite your face off. Those beliefs have a power, have a force in our lives. Now, at the time of recording, Israel and America have just started bombing Iran, and they've murdered 150 children, innocent girls in an all-girls school. Very on brand for those two groups of people, the leadership in those two countries. And what is coming out is the army generals who are sending people in to murder innocent human beings to steal their oil. They are justifying that through the idea of Satan. The Christian idea that planet Earth is a battleground between the forces of good and the forces of evil, personified by God or Jesus and Satan. And of course, they're playing out their religious beliefs that from Paul, of course, from Fuckface McGee, who has, of course, we've recognized he has completely distorted the teachings of Jesus to insert his own pathologos beliefs, because that's what we're learning happens. They are using Paul's idea of Armageddon to justify this injustice and murder and slaughter and theft. So the beliefs we carry, whether or not we are called a fundamentalist or not, affect us. We think through our beliefs, we function through our beliefs, and this very belief right here is either the motivating force behind terrible war, murder, slaughter, or it's being used to justify it. One or the two. Either the motivating cause or the justification for. So like, I think 200 different units within the American military have complained that their generals are saying, Trump is chosen by Jesus, just like Paul said he was chosen by God. Trump was chosen by God, just as Paul claimed to introduce his own pathologos because he was chosen by God. Trump too is chosen by God, and they are fulfilling the religious beliefs that we need to end the world in a war in the Middle East. So Jesus comes back. So everything we've been reading, we are seeing is super important within our society. It's literally, this conversation we've been having here is playing out in real time to the possible extinction of our species. So it's super important what we've been reading, and to address the root false belief behind it, the seventh hypothesis worldview, the belief that human problems are not caused by human ignorance, which is itself caused by pathologos false beliefs we identify with, and our struggle to move from belief into understanding, fourth into third hypothesis, that's not the cause of the human struggle. It's Satan. Therefore, no reason necessary, because Satan doesn't care about reasoning. He doesn't seek to do good. So all we can do is murder people. It's a prevailing belief, and the people with that belief are playing out those implications right now. Now, this filters through our whole society. Any sort of punishment is based on this false belief. We have already gone through a few dialectics to show that punishment never works. It only does harm. The things it claims to do, it doesn't do. It doesn't help people learn. It doesn't teach a lesson. The only thing it teaches is to avoid getting caught. Or, if that's your worldview, be the one inflicting the punishment instead of the one getting it, if there are only two roles available, the punisher and the punishee. But that harmful false belief and way of being in our society, punishment, also is a consequence or follows the root cause of this very belief. That if somebody's making a mistake, it's because they're innately sinful or bad or evil. Otherwise, there would never be a justification for punishment. Ever. And of course, the idea of punishment is the lie used to justify violence, theft, torture, sadism, man's inhumanity towards man. So, that's where we are. Hopefully we're ready to take on this challenge. Now, if our true purpose is to move through the ladder of logos that we have been learning as the hypotheses of Parmenides, we're also learning that this also involves recognizing that when a new idea or understanding is introduced, human beings have a negative response called interpretation. We will start by rejecting the new in favor of our old beliefs. And of course, there is a ladder of interpretation. Number 5, simply rejecting the new. Number 4, offering your old beliefs as an alternative to the new. Number 3, taking a piece of the new and adding it to your old. Number 2, trying to unify the old and the new. And number 1, rejecting the old false beliefs in favor of the new understanding or stage of development or insight. So that's how humans function with new ideas, and we need this as well because we are seeing Jesus go through interpretation to reject this argument that would end the sick, harmful belief that Satan exists, and therefore human problems are caused by the devil, and therefore all you can do is get the guns and the bombs and murder people because Satan is making them do bad things. And of course what we're seeing is the actual solution to human problems is always the same. Third hypothesis, understanding the dialectic. So the insight Jesus had was the root cause behind our interpretation is our seeking to introduce our own pathologos beliefs. I'm turning up my fan. Hold on. Fan is up. So we have earlier in the text looked at the origin of our pathologos beliefs, and we have realized that it's a kind of imitation or symmetrical kind of distorted reflection of our true spiritual initiation experience of actual beauty, actual care, actual love, actual knowingness. Yeah. In its shape and color, its distorted reflection in our parental figure. So we can understand the root causes of the actual source of human problems, and we've also learned that there's an art used to address the root cause of human problems called philosophical midwifery. So human problems are in principle solvable. Now, there are, of course, what we're also seeing is you have to do both at the same time. Just as there's a logos ladder of learning, there is also the pathologos ladder of interpretation and counterattacks. You have to have an understanding of both to function beneficially as a human being. Equally so, while we use the dialectic to find the root source of our false beliefs that we carry from childhood, called the pathologos, we have to do that in conjunction with the logos. In other words, how do you know you're carrying a false belief? Unless you have gone through the dialectic or the logos to come to a truth and understanding, to come to a conclusion. What the heck is that noise? What was that? Sounds like the noise when you're getting a text. Did I get a text? Nope. Maybe a neighbor did. So, right, you can't just say, well, I guess I have a problem here. You have to surface the problem. And we surface the problem, the pathologos, by seeing where we have a block to the logos. Therefore, while Jesus will have to go through philosophical midwifery to address why he was so fervently attached to this particular false belief, and why he wanted to attack Socrates, attack the method, go do speech making, insist on beliefs over reason and evidence, reject the past conclusions we've come to, reject all the past definitions in one simple phrase, reject everything that are all of the aspects of the dialectic, including conclusions. So Jesus would have to go back and say, well, why am I so fervently attached to this false belief through midwifery? We have to first surface that block. We have to understand the truth to see whether or not we can accept it. Hey, maybe your block isn't surfaced. We have Mr. Keegan Teagan.
This guy had to admit that the people in his life who helped convince him to be a conservative in the first place, parents, clergy, other authority figures, were wrong. Not only
was wrong, but lied to him and said he fell
for it. All of that takes so much courage and character.
Mr. Keegan Teagan, as you probably should be following his shorts on social medias, YouTube, TikTok, that stuff, Instagram. As he points out, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say because I was messing with my soundboard. Oh yes, as he points out, we can recognize the force of the pathologos being playing out within conservatives and their opposition to facts and reason, their fear of things that are new, that are different, fear of understanding, fear of freedom, fear of the mind, and a blind savage loyalty to their own personal beliefs. Conservatism is that force exemplified into a political movement, but also everyone has this. The issue is, at what point does it manifest? So one of his videos points out there is no extreme left. That doesn't even make sense. Progressivism is a progression towards truth, understanding, and benefit. we might add our understanding of the logos to understand the nature of the progressive movement. What should be the left is to be able to use the logos, to use the dialectic, to use understanding, to apprehend universal principles of mind and reality, to establish universal laws and policies that reflect those universal principles that are universally applied to universally benefit. So the word is universal, that's the key word. Universal income, universal wealth equality, universal housing, universal food access. Very, 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 very simple. There's no extreme position. The extreme position is the ideal. It's like saying you're an extreme doctor because you want that person to become extremely healthy. No. Health is the ideal. It's what we all strive for. If we can reach the extremely healthy position, that's fantastic. Excellence is the extreme. By definition. Therefore, people who think, well, there's no difference between the left and the right, progressives and conservatives, or people think it's a horseshoe model, because these pathologos-based, conserving their own false beliefs, harmful people called themselves left-wing. Hitler called himself socialists. These tyrants called themselves communists. Therefore, let's believe their ignorance. Let's not believe anything they say or do, except for this one thing. They're liars and murderers, except in this one instance, because it supports my false beliefs that my own conservative impulses, my own pathologos, my own impulse to conserve my pathologos beliefs is legitimate. It's not. That's a pill we have to swallow, but a good one. That it's not just their religious beliefs, it's not just fundamentalist religious beliefs, it's not just their conservative party, it's all beliefs. All of them block the development of understanding. Now, there is a nuance here. You can say, well, just as we can recognize through the 5 hypotheses of Parmenides, let's bring it up on the board. Just as we can recognize within the 5 hypotheses of Parmenides, where are they? Wait. There. Within these first 5 hypotheses of Parmenides, the nature of human ignorance and problems and suffering. 4th and 5th, we can understand the nature of human excellence and wisdom. 2nd and 3rd, and our ultimate goal, purpose, destiny, ultimate highest meaning. The 1st, we can break down 4th hypothesis, false beliefs, and 5th hypothesis, functioning in opposition to mind and self, further with an extended set of terms, because we are specifically addressing this 4th hypothesis, false belief. That 5th hypothesis functions in opposition to our benefit. The 7th hypothesis, belief that the world is a battleground between good and evil. So in other words, you can extend it. So you can say, well, technically, there are some useful beliefs, like, I believe my car needs petrol. I don't have a full understanding, but of course, and we address the 5 classes of beliefs in our philosophical midwifery book, but in general, those beliefs are based on understanding. And you could say, well, understanding of our physical world, or scientific understanding. There's a scientific understanding of why cars need petrol. We are believing them, so technically it's a belief, but no, it's scientific understanding. And we are saying true understanding is of the principles of mind. So even scientific understanding is technically a kind of belief. This is true. But generally speaking, all beliefs are the cause of our problems. Now, we will say, well, not my religion, not my parents, not my Unitarian, Protestant, New Age Christianity. But wouldn't everyone say that about their beliefs? So that's the kind of maturity, but also excitement. It's exciting to see that everybody has a potential to improve, reach higher stages of excellence, remove your negative or limiting states of mind. It's an exciting thing. So, a movement from belief into understanding, and there is a specific kind of belief of the seventh hypothesis that we're looking at. And we were talking about also that those false beliefs interject with our desire to project or interpretation to project or add what isn't there, or blind spots to leave out what is. That's interpretation. That's the functioning of our beliefs. And the specific kind of belief that we are addressing is called the pathologos, because that's the one that we are loyal to, identified with, and fear losing. Because we're identified with, we're losing ourselves, so we think. That causes this block to logos. That causes the block to our own understanding and development. But that means we need the logos first to recognize when we're rejecting it. Meaning, while the sequel to this book, we could write Socrates and Jesus, a philosophical midwife talk in heaven, we first need to set the groundwork for going through the logos. In other words, what are the steps of the dialectic that proves necessarily and beautifully justice and beauty? The standard of truth is mind, because justice and beauty are the primary aspects of intelligence itself, experienceable directly in the second hypothesis. Notice it's our standard for truth. Necessarily, rationally, beautifully, it is the case that there cannot be the seventh hypothesis worldview can't exist. There can't be a supernatural evil force called the devil or Satan. There can't even be a god of that kind that battles with the devil. We need to establish that first, which would in effect put an end to the motivating force that we are seeing playing out right now, to horrific death and destruction, potentially the death of our whole species. So it would put an end to that root cause, but also put an end to the justification, even if somebody has a different motivating belief. The justification, the reason why we accept it is, well, yeah, you just got to punish bad guys. When there's a problem, it's because sin, devil, Satan, demons, we need to punish them. So it would even put an end to the justification for bad things. And not just on the global stage, anytime a parent beats their child, anytime a teacher makes their students suffer in detention or whatever, anytime a policeman shoots a civilian in the face for not doing what they like, we're punishing you for being evil. And of course, I'm referencing, of course, ICE, the American Gestapo group that are shooting their own civilians who are speaking out against murder, kidnapping, torture, rape, concentration camps of their neighbors and friends, family, friends and neighbors. The belief-based conservative group said, oh no, they are domestic terrorists. These words that imply innate wrongness are just placeholders for the devil. Sin, same thing. It's a placeholder for a universal cosmic bad force, supernatural bad force, that it has to be supernatural because it has scope over everything of the natural world. It has to be above, independent. That's the cause for human injustice and suffering or bad things. It's a cause of bad things. So if someone doesn't do what I like, they are a sinner. And of course, we've seen that there is a huge number of words that play this role. That otherize, that indicates you're not a member of our belief-based group and you're bad. You're bad because of the cosmic principle of the devil. Now, I think we might have looked at the fact earlier in this book that this idea can be traced back to Zoroaster, a philosopher who posited this worldview. It's, of course, fundamental to the Abrahamic religions, which are the three ones that the Judaism, Islam, and Christianity that are in power at the moment, that have control over our systems in our society currently. Such words that imply this seventh hypothesis idea of evil: woke, the one used for this American civilian who was shot in the face by ICE, domestic terrorist. Same word used to anyone that America disagrees with or the current ruling party disagrees with. Hey, they're a terrorist if I don't like them, therefore not human anymore. They're the devil. We can't understand the cause of their problems, so don't bother going into the history or why they acted as they did. By the way, often in order to justify murder and theft, the ruling group will provoke, for example, the Palestinians. They've been tortured and oppressed and kept in an open-air prison for decades, and when they try to fight back, oh look, I guess we were right all along. The self-fulfilling prophecy. Another example, a racist person might see a black person and say, hey, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, and keep in their ear over and over, abusing them. And when the black person fights back or says, get the hell out of here, or punches him in the nose, see, I was right all along. We create the conditions that justify our pathologos beliefs that we carry. And people in power manipulate this. It's called problem, reaction, solution, or manufacturing consent. For example, the current conflict in Iran. There's a history to why there has been a dictator in power, put in by the Americans after overthrowing their democratically elected leader. And now America points to what they did and say, see that bad thing? I guess we got to kill Satan and just bomb all these innocent children in a primary school. Because that will be good somehow, maybe. Who knows? Because devil. And we're fighting a holy war. Now, we have predicted this on this channel. Since the beginning of this channel, we've been saying, yes, people act through their beliefs. Yes, these Abrahamic religious people who are in power are going to bring about the genocide of races who are different than them and the extinction of our species in the name of Armageddon. Yes, that's what they are doing, because you can understand and predict that by understanding their beliefs they carry from childhood. We've been saying since the beginning of this channel that there is no right-wing party, it's the Pathologos party. Now we are seeing that. They are explicit now. We're seeing with the Epstein files and with the way that Israel and America are murdering children en masse and furthering wars like this and justifying it with their beliefs. We are seeing all of these things we predicted are true and obvious now. It's not a great thing, but the principle is, if we were able to entirely predict what was happening by understanding the true nature of the human condition, the conflict between the logos and pathologos, then we don't have to do it anymore. That's the first point. The second point, when we communicate this to other members of our species, they will reject it. I've been using for the last however many months, jokingly, the beef with Emma
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
from the Majority Report.
He's so far up his own ass.
She's been saying that to me. No, she hasn't, of course. But the Majority Report, who are doing their best to understand, and they're getting close to understanding that this is the nature of the human condition, and they're champions for understanding, well, almost getting there. They're doing very, very good work. One of the best out there. They have themselves ignored or allowed their Twitch and YouTube pages to be moderated by fuckheads, fascists, small-minded idiots, to the detriment of their community. Obvious to see if they cared to look. One example of this is a couple of times I was in the Twitch, and then after I was banned, the YouTube chat room watching the Majority Report, and I agreed with something that Emma and Matt were saying. Even though I was agreeing, I was abused by the moderators of the Majority Report chat room and banned without any conversation or dialogue, and my ban appeal was rejected within a minute. They didn't even care to read it. The very thing the Majority Report are trying to remove in our society, they are allowing to happen within the things they have their power over themselves. That's the principle we were pointing to earlier. Everyone has pathologos. Everyone has to go through this learning. Everyone will reject truth and understanding to some degree. The difference is when it kicks in. For some people, like the most religious or conservative or pathologos driven, even dialogue. I can't believe I made a joke about a guy that used to go to my gym. I tried to talk to him when he was being a dick. I can't believe you're even talking to me. Simple communication was too much. That level of logos was too much for him. Any Trump supporter, especially now, any kind of reasoned reflection gets them mad. But even people who are doing the best, like the Majority Report, still will have their problems. Therefore, what we said earlier of Keegan Teagan's point, there is no extreme left. Problems are conservative by nature. You can call yourself left-wing, as Hitler did. That doesn't mean you're left-wing. Doesn't mean you're progressive. You can call yourself communist, but still be a conservative fascist. Now, there are groups that are explicitly fascist, like right-wing parties. That's their whole deal, conservatism. But even progressive people will have a stage where the logos gets too challenging of their beliefs, or the specific goal becomes so meaningful or beautiful that it will trigger them. It will always happen. Because, as Socrates has laid out for us in this book, the whole reason we are going through reincarnation in the first place is because we were prevented from more meaningful, from more rational and true, and more beautiful states of being at higher levels of spiritual reincarnation because of this very false belief or block to meaning, reason, and beauty that we identify with. I'm a small bean, I'm a bad noodle. You can't be the greatest bean in the world and still think that you are a small bean. They are incompatible images of yourself. For example, you can't think of yourself as someone who's got nothing good to say and also be the manager of your office. You have to sacrifice one of them. You might apply for the job, but you might wonder, why did I sleep in on the day of the interview? Why did I sabotage myself when I could have gotten this job? Because your state of mind was linked to your idea of yourself, and your functioning is linked to your state of mind. That's the triad. You have an idea of yourself that's inconsistent with this self that has that goal. You have a state of mind attached to that self and a functioning through that state of mind. That's the triad of self. So some people are better. Some people are more interested in understanding, more able to follow the logos, more open and curious, more close to the ideal self, the ideal open, curious, wondering, receptive state of mind, and more close to the ideal functioning through understanding and dialectic. There are better people and worse people. But even they have to go through this process of dialectic and philosophical midwifery. They have a higher standard, of course. They have to set an even higher goal that will trigger their interpretation or counterattack that they can then use to go through that process they have literally been born here to go through, according to Socrates, according to our own understanding of Socrates in reading this book. That bangs. It's the human condition. Thumbs up.
Making ice cream's a good and courageous thing.
And this is the most good and courageous thing, Emma.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. So, the root cause of the nature of the human condition is a conflict between the logos and pathologos that we have been born to go through. One thing that gets in the way and causes mass death and destruction, a fundamental kind of pathologos false belief, is that the world is a battleground between good and evil. It's used to justify punishment or even the motivating cause behind punishment, violence, abuse. So the use of violence, torture, death, and theft by people in power are always justified with punishment, teaching them a lesson, which means it's always to do with the idea that you solve problems because of the you don't solve problems by dialectic, you solve them by killing Satan. And if someone's a bad person, they are Satan. And we have words that function as surrogates: domestic terrorist, woke, infidel, goyim, heretic. Sinner. All of these are surrogates for the seventh hypothesis worldview, the demonization of others according to this worldview. So, that's what we're seeing right now. Can Jesus go through the steps of a dialectic to show that the seventh hypothesis worldview, that is the root, a fundamental, if not the most fundamental, kind of false belief that's responsible for the suffering, death, and destruction we see in the world, towards others and within ourselves, of course. Our internal conflicts are expressed externally, as above, so below. Can we see Jesus go through this successfully? Now, it might not stick, but still you need to do both. You have to do the reasoning and the midwifery. You have to do the logos and the pathologos. Because as we've just said, that's the true nature of the human condition. That we have understood for ourselves through reason, reflection, and words. Thumbs up. Why is always thumbs down today? Thumbs up. And we have verified for ourselves in our own direct experience, because I hope you have been testing everything you've been reading in your own life. And of course, the highest way of testing that we have seen from the book is in your own dream analysis. And the best way of doing it is with friends. And even in the ideal relationship that we've looked at several times through the book, love and logos. So, necessary through reason, reflection, confirmed in experience, and reflective of the higher principles of truth itself, which is itself experienced as the penultimate state of enlightenment, or mind knowing itself, the highest peak experience we can have. That peak experience, second hypothesis, can be understood, third hypothesis, and it's the those same principles that we also conform to in our reasoned reflection and direct experience standard for truth. Now, we understand the truth. We understand the principle of truth, why it's true. We've understand how to demonstrate that truth to others through the dialectic. We've understood that and that is also demonstratable and confirmable and in alignment with higher principles of truth that we can experience on different dimensions of reality. It's true. We've also shown how to act in conformity with truth is necessary for our benefit. To act in opposition to truth causes harm. So we've shown that it's true, why it's true, how it's true, that it's important to follow the truth, and of course the negative implications if you don't. The truth that the nature of humanity is the movement from the fourth to the third hypothesis by addressing our pathologos and perfecting our logos. The conflict is because we have a triad of self that is categorized by the pathologos in fear of the logos version that functions through the dialectic in our lives. We are living a dialectic. We're doing a meditation on the negative. And our movement up the ladder of development follows 5 primary stages on the hypotheses of the logos, and also has a corresponding 5 kinds of counterattacks or interpretations from the logos, from the pathologos. All of this is true, but because of that principle that human beings have an automatic negative reaction to the truth, because that's why it is a problem. That even though it's true, human beings won't want to listen. They would rather feel like a Noah, confident and smug in their ignorance and cruelty. The standard of comedy for the Joe Rogan sphere. To be cruelly smug against vulnerable people. They would rather have that way of being, cosplaying a Noah, than learn truth, even though it benefits them, even though they're harmed by not doing it. So we have to be aware of that. Welcome to the chat. You can't, because the Satan in you is the Satan in me. It's a good protein substitute for meat. It's made purely of gluten. Damn, how long is this book? We're on page 230. I've seen you read it for 3 months. Why have you only watched us read it? Why haven't you been here reading it? It's perhaps the best book ever written. I wonder why. Yes, 160 episodes we are through. I recommend reading it and learning how to read it, which we've been doing as we've been going through. I hope you don't have celiac disease though. Oh, Jesus, so do I. Doesn't sound good. I detail him 24/7. It's my job. I am the chat's jester. Jester goon maxing.
You're a little bitch ass baby.
Whoops.
Jester goon maxed.
You're jester goon maxed. Derail him. No, you don't derail. No, there's no derailing. You're jester goon maxed.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Also, we should love sluts. Because the Oracle tells us what to do. And she's always right. So, you goon to the max.
Gooners.
I'm just asking for some gooner men.
Just asking for some gooner men.
Gooner bait.
Because you want gooner bait.
You could personality maxing requires you to look
Gooners.
Gooners? What? You can be a gooner.
Some goons and some gooners and some weirdos.
Because there are goons and gooners and weirdos. So, that's where we are. We have to demonstrate the logos or reasoning or truth about the whether or not Satan exists and if that's a good worldview or if it's the one that causes harm in humanity. We can anticipate that even though it's true, he won't listen, or that's the fifth. Actually, let's go through the triad that we nailed down last time. So this also applies to any truth. For example, the pyramid, the truth of our human condition. Tell him he's handsome and he puts up with me.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you if you say that.
Funny, cool, and accents. Come on.
I'm funny, cool. And I have an accent, but that's because I was born here. So, what we've looked at is there is a dialectic of how we function. When humans are blocked, they are in their B state, their blocked state, their belief state, a negative state of mind, and we can look for clues of that state of mind. When you ask someone a question in the dialogue, oh, I'll do it later. I'll form a committee. We will look into that later, putting it off, not answering the question. Jumping ahead, instead of answering the question that Jesus was asked, he goes, oh, if I answer that question, that'll have a negative conclusion. No, you're supposed to follow along step by step. A story about yourself. Hey, Jesus, do you take money from APEC? Well, instead of answering that question, I will tell you a story about myself. I'm the sort of person who has principles. In chat, can I have relationship advice? Because I'm weird and my relationships are weird.
Queen of gooning.
That's because you're the queen of gooning.
And she spit on him also.
And also she spit on them. That's as much advice as I can give. A story about yourself. Hey, do you take APEC money? Oh no, I'm not going to answer that question. I have principles. Let me tell you a story about myself. When this happens, you can identify the state of mind they're in might not be interested in truth and understanding and learning. They're interested in an image, a way of being, defending their own image of themselves and their own way of being. We know, and the insight Jesus gave us in the book was, that's because the root cause of our problems and interpretations is our pathologos idea of ourselves. I'll take that head pat. Maybe later, you little weirdo.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like your
I'm joy maxing. And if I aura mog you, don't have your cortisol level spike. What kind of advice do you want from me? I mean, we have been talking about the nature. Well, everything we've been talking about manifests in every area of your life, like your relationships. If you understand it, maybe you can answer your own puzzle. You can ask, and maybe we'll see it reflected in what we're looking about, because that's part of it. So I want to ask a question. Is more or less relationship stuff? They want to date and want a relationship, and I'm okay with that. But also okay with friendship. And they're also okay with friendship. Kind of like, I also don't mind if they move in with me someday, either. It's really just whatever they want. And they have free reign to decide that. I'm fine with any relationship so long as the person doesn't try to take control of me and lets me pursue my dreams without infringing themselves on me. They don't, so I'm chill with them. And so what's your question? Why am I so weird? Well, what's the puzzle? What's the puzzle you have? So we can address the question. So, the logos and pathologos. So we started by looking at what happens when people are in their pathologo state of mind. There are tells for when that is. So there is a original cause or definition of themselves called the pathologos. Everyone has one. You have one, Chatter. Your friend has one. It manifests as our states of mind. It's not our only state of mind, but we have two options, A or B. Our B state or a block state, there are tells for it. And if you are in a relationship with someone, you can become familiar with each other and they can help you recognize when you are in your problem state of mind. You don't know you're carrying a false idea of yourself. You just think it's you. That's why it's the cause of your problem. It's the cause of your problems. But you can infer it. That's what we're here to learn as human beings. What idea of the self did I carry with me into this reincarnation? And we get messages about that in every moment from our problems. The idea of a relationship is to explore this together. Two dogs walk further than one dog alone. So, in a relationship, in a proper relationship, they can help you identify when you're in your block state. So you don't know the self, but you can know what it feels like in that state of mind. The reason that state of mind's a problem, so we've got definition, demonstration. Remember, there are only four aspects of the dialectic. Self to self, self to other, other to other, other to self. Definition, demonstration, division, conclusion. Let me catch up with chat. I am answering your question. Many people don't get it. Why aren't you heartbroken? And I'm like, because I want them to be happy. I enjoy my time with them and I want them to be happy. And if they leave because they want to be happier, I'm happier. I just think love transforms and that makes me very happy and it will be whatever they want. I just get told by people outside in that that's weird. Well, everyone has their own model for relationships that is caused by our pathologos. From childhood, your family way of being, you saw your parents in it. Everyone thinks everyone else's is weird because it's different from those. None of them are good. So let's not care about what other people think. Let's nail down what's true. So, we have an idea of ourselves. That's the motivating factor behind human functioning. You will seek a person that allows you to confirm this false, negative view of yourself. That's what motivates relationships. You don't think that. You have your own reasoning that justifies your false belief, your false goal. Just as political leaders have a false view of self and reality, life is a battleground between good and evil. They want to blow up people different than their family. Their reasoning, because Jesus, because terrorism, because those children in that Iranian girls' school need to suffer and die, isn't true. It's just used to justify their original pathologos belief. No, I'm not saying you're weird. I'm showing you an understanding of what motivates you and all human people that we have derived from reading this text. You can verify this for yourself. You can reason through it yourself. But this is where we are so far. Everyone has a false idea of themselves. Pathologos. Definition. Demonstration. That pathologos demonstrates it in your feeling states, your emotional states, your states of mind. That state of mind causes your functioning. Do you notice that when you're happy, you are more open to do things, and when you're sad, you're less likely to do things? And when you're doing things when you're sad or grumpy or depressed, you do things in a worse way? That's because your state of mind is causal of your functioning. In our pathologos state, we function or division to reject the logos, to reject this conversation, to reject reasoning, to reject understanding, to reject the dialectical method, to reject the conclusions we've come to in the past. That's why it's our problem. It rejects our understanding and learning. But what we do instead is appeal to our beliefs as facts. We appeal to clan identity. We think about us versus them. We think about the world being good versus bad, Satan versus the devil. That's what we do. Appeal to beliefs and our images and our own inner speeches. And what we reject is the dialectic. The conclusion, notice we've got a chain of causes. The first cause is your image of yourself. That causes your feeling state. That causes your functioning. And your functioning and role you play, your role you play in your relationships ends in division and conflict. Now what we're seeing is it would be a shitty reality if you could be stuck in your problem and be happy. The problems that you have in your relationships, you need to have to tell you, wake up and do the learning you're born to do. That's what reality tells you. Your beliefs will say, no, I know better. It's because of this belief and that belief that I have problems. Reality is saying, no, you don't know. Your job is to become open and curious to new learning. If you knew why you had your problems, you wouldn't have your problems. I want them to be happy. Yes, so everything you're telling me, I want them to be happy. This is what I think relationships should be. This is what happens. This is all the reasoning that you have been carrying since childhood. And if you stay in that reasoning, you will have the same conclusions you've already been having. You heard the expression, you can't do the same thing and expect different outcomes? Therefore, the reasoning that has been motivating your view of relationships has been leading you to the same conclusion over and over and over and over again. If you want something different, you need to learn its cause. If your toaster keeps burning your toast, you can't just keep doing the same thing and expect nice toast. You have to look at the cause of why your toast is burning. There are only 4 steps. That's it. A definition of yourself, a demonstration through your feeling states, a function or division or role you play out within your relationships, and a conclusion. Those are the 4 steps of the dialectic. Learning is hard. Well, it's not hard, it's fun. It just challenges you because you have to sacrifice the image of yourself as knowing shit you don't know. And we're taught to fear learning. I'm not good enough to learn. I'm a small bean. I'm a bad noodle. You are. You've been lied to. Our job is to remove these lies. I don't know why I don't feel traditionally heartbroken and sad and depressed about it. It wasn't traumatic. So we're learning what's going on behind our relationships, all relationships, be it America and Israel's relationship with Iran, be it humanity's relationship with itself and the planet, be it the relationships we have with our beloveds in our romantic relationships. It's all the same. 4 stages. So if that's our negative state, our B state, then we can see most relationships are a kind of meditation. I couldn't stop crying when I heard about the girls in the school. Well, the good thing is we can understand why it happened by addressing the causes of that, why it happened, and we can see the very causes behind the murdering of those children we are looking at right now. The principle is as above, so below. It's playing out in your own relationship. If you can go through the steps of learning and see what it takes to put an end to the cycles of violence and sadness and heartbreak in your relationship, it's one very quick and easy step to say that is also what we need to go through as a culture to put an end to the murdering of children that we see happening every day. Same principle. You can confirm this in your own experience and test it in your own relationships. Yeah. There's only 4 things. Now, if there are 4 parts in our problems, our conclusion, division, and conflict, caused by our functioning, division, the role we play to reject understanding and confirm our beliefs in this or that way, in all of the patterns and ways we've learnt to relate to people, the masks we wear and things, that functioning is from an more causal, more primary cause state of mind, because you're not always in your negative state, in your B state, and the cause of that negative state of mind is your false image of yourself that you got from childhood called your pathologos, then that's the root cause of all human problems. It's also a meditation. You start with an image of yourself that plays out in the way we just described, and your conclusion just confirms. Have you ever noticed that at the end of your relationships, you end the same way? You end up just thinking, I guess I'm weird. I guess I'm unlovable. I guess I'm stupid. Which you already thought before you started the relationship. It might be hard to see in yourself, but do you know a friend like this? She has an abusive boyfriend, and then she finally leaves him, and then the next boyfriend, same thing. And the next boyfriend, same thing. And the next boyfriend, same thing. There's no learning happening. If it's a repeating pattern, we know there has to be a understandable cause. I feel weird because I'm not sad about it. Okay, so you have some idea of yourself. I am weird. You look for someone where you can play that state of mind out with. I guess I'm weird. The drama you play out in that relationship, including the role you have, the role you assign to them. Sometimes you might flip roles. They can be the dom, you can be the sub. But that role that you play out with them, that attracted you to that person in the first place, allows you to play out everything you need to confirm, I guess I'm just weird because we had a breakup and I didn't feel sad about it. Confirming the first belief that you carried about yourself that you don't even know you're carrying because it was a conclusion you made without words from childhood. Every relationship, by the way, you don't even have to play this out in a relationship. Your daydreams tell you about this same pattern you're stuck in. Your fantasies, talking about doms and subs, play out the same thing. Your dreams play it out, but give you so many clues about it. That's why dream analysis is the best thing we do. But it also plays out in your relationships. 4 steps. Now, if that's what motivates us in a negative way, if we are aware of that, we can choose something different. What's that noise? Noise again. What the fuck? I think my neighbors get super texts. So, that's the 4 stages of the dialectic that we play out in every area of our lives, especially our relationships, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy or a meditation. You confirm the negative idea of yourself you had to begin with. You are meditating, you are contemplating on the false idea of self. Now, what we've been learning is that false idea of self is why you reincarnated into Hades, into Earth, to begin with. Because this false idea of yourself was incompatible with the higher dimensions of self that you could have reincarnated into. Because if those higher states are more real, more true, more beautiful, more just, but you think, I suck, I'm a weirdo, I'm ugly, I'm not good enough, I can't reason, any of those things that we carry, these diminished ideas of ourselves, you can't have and also be in these higher dimensions of reality, because they're non-physical dimensions of reality, meaning you have to be one with them. You can't be one with beauty and think you're ugly. Right? So, human beings, and let me catch up with chat. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm not sure. I described it someone that was weird, and they're like, FWBs could hurt them, and I was like, they seem fine with it. And I'm fine if they want a relationship to date, which is why they still want. But I think my question is, why are people very judgmental and assumptions maybe? Hell no, I'm a cutie.
That one's perfect and exactly the making ice cream's a good. They're secretly turned spit on me.
Calm down, Emma.
Absolutely gooped. Gooners.
I was just uncomfortable with people trying to make me feel guilty about stuff. So, by the way, if someone said you should feel guilty about this or that, and you didn't think that they were a reliable source, like they were a little kid or an alien or like, I don't know, it was AI saying that, you wouldn't believe them, right? You wouldn't believe them unless you thought what they're saying was true. Or they were a Noah. That's why we seek people who appear beautiful and true. They appear like our pathologos false belief about self and mind. What's mind? The aspects of pure mind: beauty, justice, truth, excellence. By the way, wouldn't you say you're attracted to people you consider real or beautiful or just? Therefore, these people who say these things are the people you listen to. So you look for people in that state of mind, you play out the drama, and you end with the conclusion. You feel sad, you feel lonely, you feel like you're an outsider, whatever is the conclusion. They're like, fine with whatever, and I'm fine with whatever, and we're both chill or whatever. Right, so what you're describing is the steps you play out that lead to the conclusion. I'm weird, I'm sad, why do people judge me? What we're saying is, you have to take a step back. What's the state of mind that motivates you being chill? Passive? Slave? Doormat? What? And what is the idea of yourself that puts yourself into that state of mind and role? Not good enough? Because all you've been set, but this is true for everyone, every single relationship. So, we need two things. Remember, there's only two things within human problems. There's our problem state, and we've just understood the 4 stages that it plays out in. But there is the true state. What do we actually seek? And that's what we came to last time. What we seek is to know the actual self, which you can only get with following the logos, learning the kinds of things we learn here, the dialectic, but also surfacing your problem states, your failures, so you can remove your false idea of self. So we want to know the self, but we want to know the self, like recognize the true nature of self, the most transcendent, the highest possible idea of God, with the logos. We want to understand it and function through it to know and show the self. That's the ideal. And already we can say, well, one problem you have is you don't have the ideal. When you're seeking a relationship, you don't have the standard for what you want. You allow everyone's pathologos to play out with you as the mannequin or punching bag for them to play out their pathologos ignorance, justifying your role as the doormat or the punching bag and allowing them to become more entrenched in their shitty role. You're harming both of you. You're spending your life energy meditating, improving, becoming identified with, and also adding all of the intimacy and sexual energy into a false idea of yourself that you have been born to address. By not establishing what you do want. So we need to nail down what we do want. You want to actually know the self. How do we know the self? By the way, we can remember this with Zeus. Zeus is the personification of your ideal state of being, the highest god of all of the gods, the highest idea of self. You can confirm every stage that you go through in your actual ideal states of mind. Notice it's the same but the opposite. Our problems are caused by our unsuspected idea of self, the diminished one. I'm a doormat, I'm a weirdo, no one loves me, or whatever it is. For everyone it's different, but it's always negative. But our true state, our A state, our true goal is to know the self. That needs to be a standard in every relationship. Our problem states of mind, sad, lonely, angry, whatever it is the diminished reflection of our true state of mind. The highest state of mind is mind knowing itself as mind itself. Bliss, beauty, the beauty that you seek in this or that person and in this or that activity is actually a really crappy way of getting what you do want, actual beauty, experienced directly through the experience of actual bliss, the peak experience, the true orgasm, you might want to call it. That's Aphrodite. Ousia, mind turning around and knowing itself. So just as we need for a standard to know the self, that's what we seek in our relationships, the true self or the one self or the good self. We also want our high states of mind, ideally peak states of mind. Aphrodite. Now we looked at our division, the negative functioning, the games and the fantasies and the activities and the fighting and the conflict and the weird stuff that you play out with your partner or your friends or your relationships that cause our problems. But what's our ideal functioning? Well, Apollo. You can't figure out how to know the self and your excellence unless you are learning from someone. That's why we read. Someone came into the chat earlier and said, how long have you been reading this book? Every day. We will always read this book or other books by Socrates translated by Juan Balboa or Pierre Grimes. It's like saying, you're a mechanic. Why are you reading this mechanical book? How else do you become a mechanic? How else do you solve your problems and reach your excellence unless you're reading a kind of book that gives you the material? That's what we saw last time. This book is one that's complete. It's one that's intelligible, meaning you don't have to project your own beliefs. You don't have to fix it by adding stuff that isn't there. So, just as we looked at our problematic functioning, our best functioning with a partner is to read these books together, look at your dreams together, seek your highest goals together. Maybe even from your reading and dream analysis, improve your highest goal. That's why every relationship is a threesome. There's you, there's your partner, and there's the shared ideal that you both seek together. If you do not establish that, your partner will be pushing their pathologos ideal on you. You will be pushing your pathologos ideal of beauty and love and truth on them. That's the nature of human conflict in relationships and everywhere. Abandoning a shared ideal of Zeus or the self-logos and pushing your own personal belief, pathologos. That's what Trump does when he murders people in the street or children in a girls' school in Iran. That's what you do with your partner. That's what your partner does with you. An insistence on your pathologos model of that ideal. That ideal is some kind of self. And by the way, the more that you learn and read together, the better your image, the better your imagination. You're learning together. That's what relationships are for. There's an idea of yourself that you can learn and improve. There's an ideal of your states of mind. And there's an ideal of your functioning. How do you want to act in the world? What sort of person do you want to do? What do you want to do in the world? How do you want to spend your time? How do you want to relate to people? Your functioning. What do you want your state of mind to be? And what is the self that you're seeking behind all of this? That's the triad. The triad of self. What we're seeing is there's two expressions of that. There's the one you learn from the self logos in a good relationship that we're learning about, or there's the insistence on your negative triad in your relationships that causes problems. Because don't you want your beloved to be good? If you love them, don't you want them to be beautiful? If you're fucking them. Where did you learn what goodness and beauty is? Don't you want their best if you care about them? Where did you learn what beauty, goodness, and benefit is? You don't know because you haven't reflected on it. You learn it from your childhood, from beliefs. Therefore, you will, if you love them and if you care about them or whatever, you will insist upon your own pathologos triad. They will insist upon theirs. Some relationships get by because they are similar enough, which of course is a negative thing because you're spending your life further entrenching each other in their false beliefs. So what have we got? We've got an understanding of our behavior, which follows 4 steps in the negative sense. And also we're doing the ideal. What's the ideal? To return to the self with the logos, allowing you to have yourself, your best states of mind, and your functioning. Zeus. Every step of the way, you confirm it in your feelings, your states of mind. Aphrodite, including peak experiences. To get that, you have to be reading together. Apollo. Reading the sorts of things we do every day here. As a result of this reading, you learn to perfect the art of understanding called the dialectic. Hermes. Hermes, therefore, is the method through which you are able to reach Zeus, through which you're able to perfect your state of mind, through which you're able to perfect your reading and the works that you make in your own life. Therefore, the conclusion isn't division and conflict as it is when we're in our B state, our problem state, regular relationships. The conclusion is mastery of the art of dialectic. Therefore, we can conclude the meaning of life is the same as the meaning of relationships. To together master the art of dialectic, allowing you to reach your highest goal, Zeus, to reach your highest states of mind, Aphrodite, to perfect your highest functioning, Apollo. Wait a minute, self, mind, and functioning, that's our triad. So our true self triad is perfected through the dialectic, whereas hang on a second, the dialectic, isn't that 4 stages of reasoning? Definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion? So not only is the dialectic the goal of relationships to perfect your true triad, it's the same art that you can use to reflect on the problems you have in your relationship, the role you're playing that leads to that conclusion, the state of mind you were in that led to that role, and the image of yourself that was behind all of it, meaning the dialectic is the art needed to perfect the true triad of the self logos and solve problems. Purify the negative triad, manifesting in these 4 stages of functioning. Therefore, we have 4 stages of functioning: definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion, leading to our 3 aspects or threesome of self: yourself, your state of mind, and your functioning. And those 4 and 3 have their 2 expressions: the logos, Zeus, Aphrodite, Apollo, or your pathologos, image of yourself, negative states of mind, and belief-based functioning. So the logos version of that 3, what we just said, Zeus, Aphrodite, Apollo, and Hermes, to know the self through the logos, ousia, state of mind, reading, dream analysis, conversations like this, Apollo, Hermes, the art of the dialectic, or its pathologos expression to bring the pathologos triad of the self, the negative meditation that people are doing, the cause of our problems, is the definition is your pathologos self-identity. Your demonstration is your pathologos state of mind and way of being. Your pathologos functioning is interpretation through belief. The negative roles in your relationships. And the pathologos conclusion is division and conflict within yourself and each other. Therefore, 4 states of human activity or meditation. Your life is a meditation in that sense. 3 aspects of the self that happen as a conclusion. 2 expressions of that, the logos or pathologos, and 1 single art used to perfect the logos and purify the pathologos. Now we can add, so 1, 2, 3, 4 to understand human functioning, the ideal, and our problem. We can add 1 more step in the pyramid by saying, as we go through that learning, as we go through this perfection of the logos, we can say that there are stages that you reach together with your partner. You can map those stages of personal development, and you can map 5 stages as the movement from 5th hypothesis and 4th hypothesis, ignorance, problems, 3rd hypothesis and 2nd, wisdom, and of course, to move even beyond wisdom to know the self. So there are 5 stages in the map of development. But every time you get introduced to a new stage or a new truth or a new way of being, you also have 5 kinds of, so that's the 5 stages of the logos. There's 5 stages of pathologos counterattack or interpretation. A new truth? Hey, that's different than what I'm used to. I'm going to 5, reject it. That's different than what I'm used to. I'm going to 4, offer an alternative. Offer alternative beliefs. Slightly better than just rejecting it. That's a new idea, a new way of being. I'm going to 3, take a little bit of the new and add it to my old beliefs, like a patch on an old coat. That's a new idea. I'm going to be a little bit better, number 2, and try and unify them both, the new and the old. My old way of being in relationships and this new one. Or the peak, number 1, simply accepting the new, what's true. So any new idea, we want to get to number 1, but we will go through these 4 other stages to reach the ideal. Just as to reach the ideal of self, we have to go through 5 and 4, ignorance, 3 and 2, wisdom, to the 1. Therefore, there are 5 steps in our development of logos and 5 stages of our pathologos interpretation that follow the dialectic. So, the dialectic is expressed through the logos into our ideal 3 states, 3 aspects or threesome of self, mind, and functioning, which is ideally the first hypothesis, second, and third. We reach that through our activity, which follows the 4 stages of the dialectic: definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion. And the stages or map or ladder that we go through has its 5 stages. 1, 2, well, that's on the positive, that we perfect through the dialectic, and we use the same art of dialectic to purify our pathologos that motivates us to this same triad of self, but in its negative, that functions in the 4 stages of human drama, but the negative, that has its 5 stages of interpretation. Therefore, the nature of humanity, the human condition, is 1 art, 2 express the dialectic, 2 expressions, the logos and pathologos, 3 aspects of self that those are expressed through those 2, 4 stages of drama that is either reflecting the logos or pathologos, and 5 stages we go through, both of the logos and pathologos. Notice, this pyramid is scope. Logos and pathologos affects every stage below it. The dialectic relates to every stage below it, including the pathologos and logos, meaning the dialectic is used for the logos and pathologos, but the pathologos doesn't incorporate the logos. The pathologos has its 3 stages, its 4 aspects of the drama, and its 5 categories, stages. Therefore, we can understand the human condition and how to remove problems. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the pyramid. Now, everything we've described is the logos, meaning, as brilliantly as I described it, as handsomely as I described it.
This is why I love this channel, man.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Well, I'm not a well, maybe I am a slut. I don't know. Am I?
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like your cortisol levels are spiking for no reason.
I just got aura mog.
Oh man, that lady's certainly saying bad words.
So, as true as it was, as handsomely as I described it, as prettily as it was, as the colors on this board, you're not going to accept it. You're not going to accept it. You are going to reject it if you're in stage 5. Or you're going to offer an alternative explanation of why you have problems in your relationship, number 4, based on your own beliefs. Or you're going to take a little bit of this and add it to your own old beliefs, number 3. Or maybe you might try and keep your old way of doing relationships and unify it with this, number 2. Or maybe, if you're a rare bird, you can be completely open to accepting this new truth and reject your old beliefs and pathologos. You are going to fall into one of those 5 categories of interpretation. But that's okay. You are supposed to develop. That's the learning. That's why we experience ourselves through time. It allows us to break down these parts in experience and reflection through time. That's the learning. So at any time, you're going to be on one of the 5 stages of hypotheses of the logos, and you are going to be on one of 5 stages of interpretation. The ideal of the relationship is to recognize that together, or to make this pyramid as the shared ideal, together, that you and your beloved seek to perfect together. So they can recognize your negative states of mind, your negative functioning, and ask you to perfect their own dialectic by asking you questions about your reading, logos, or about your problems. And every night you have a dream, which is the highest expression of this, because dreams give you the drama of your dreams is a dialectic. That's why it's intelligible. It's a complete, understandable work, like the books that we read, that you can unpack through the dialectic. The dreams will tell you about your logos and your problem. It will tell you in drama that you can unpack through the dialectic, but it's a more rational drama than the one you play out with your partner about your image of self, your state of mind, and your functioning. The dream drama itself follows these 4 steps of drama. You are yourself. You're a character that you identify with in your dream. You have high and low, logos and pathologos, states of mind. In the drama of your dream, you play a role. And there's a conclusion. The drama of your dream ends in a success or failure. Therefore, we can conclude whatever is our ideal that we are looking for, our ideal Zeus functioning, knowing and showing of self, seems to be reflected in the knowing and functioning of our dream maker. This is one of the biggest questions we've come to in this book. What's the relationship between our highest purpose, goal, destiny, true nature of self, Zeus, and our dream maker? And what that connects with another question: why is Socrates putting in the ranking of all philosophers or all human beings to have existed? Why is he putting those who recognize the value and necessity of dreams and do dream analysis as the standard for the highest? So these 2 questions come together as a super mega ultimate question. A megazord of question. A fusion dance Gogeta of question. And by the way, if you're lucky, you get to wake up next to your beloved, allowing you to engage in what would make you the highest class of human being, the highest activity that you can do, with the highest scope over your perfection and your purification of problems every morning, if that's your standard of a relationship. If you don't have this as a goal in your relationships, you are going to be playing out the pathologos side of this pyramid, spending your life adding any energy, any relationship energy, any human time energy, any life energy into justifying, identifying with that mask that you have been apparently, we'll have to prove it for ourselves, but according to Socrates, that very mask we have been born to reflect upon and purify ourselves from. Make sense? Fun? Curious? Interesting? Fun pyramid? Does it look pretty? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Worth sharing with your friends? As you share it with your friends, can you anticipate some sort of rejection? Could you even identify those rejections within these 4 categories? The 5, the last one, wouldn't be a rejection, of course. Neat. What are you saying?
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Also a good point.
All checks out.
Spit on me.
Calm down, Emma.
Why can't these guys shut up? Whether or not it's about Jesus.
It's about Jesus.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
Jesus Christ.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
Yes, we should end
Dumbass.
it. Dumbass.
Gooners.
Goodness.
Gooners.
So, that's where we are. Now, notice, this isn't advice. Chatter came in asking for advice. This isn't advice. This is understanding. Because advice would fall under the category of, hey, believe me. You know what happens with advice? They either already believe it and they're just looking for confirmation of what they already believe, or it's going to be a different belief from their own pathologos belief or worldview, and they'll reject it. That's why advice doesn't do anything. This isn't advice. Two options. It's not going to do anything because you already agree, or two, you don't agree and you'll reject it. That's the standard of belief. That's why political leaders, spiritual or religious leaders, capitalists shouldn't be allowed to function in rulership position based on belief. Doesn't go anywhere other than it just allows them to play out their pathologos belief-based problems this side of the pyramid, but inflicting their ignorance and violence on others. Belief. The root cause of our problems. Belief. Pathologo. So this wasn't advice. This was a step-by-step reflection, and it's difficult with chat because I don't even know if they're still here. But asking questions as much as I can along the way, giving examples along the way, analogies along the way, to reason through words and reflection into understanding, which is what we've recognized is the standard of truth. Reason, reflection through words, or the ideal. Reasoned reflection through words, Apollo. Confirmed in your own direct experience, Aphrodite. Reflecting the higher principles of truth, Hermes. Everything we've said follows that dialectical pattern. Ultimately, with the final goal, the self, Zeus. So this A state reflects the standard of truth. And it has 4 steps. Dialectic. So it wasn't advice, it was this conversation was an example of a good relationship our chatter could be looking for in their life. Not advice. Reasoning together through words, Apollo. Asking questions. I know there's difficulty doing it on Twitch, but asking questions that you can verify in your own experience, and this reasoning you can apply in your own experience to test for yourself, Aphrodite. And the things that you are reasoning and confirming reflect the dialectic all the way, giving us a pattern to nail it down for ourselves, but also reflecting the higher principles of truth that will ultimately lead to the most meaningful goal. If you don't have self as your goal, ultimately you are not engaged in a meaningful activity by definition. Because that's the meaning. That's the meaning of everything. That's the first cause and final cause. Even if you want to help others, how can you help others unless you have helped yourself? Done this, purified your own problems, otherwise you'll be projecting your own problems. Therefore, this conversation, A state. This conversation, so what have we done? We have defined definition. The nature of a good relationship and the nature of problems in relationships. We have demonstrated it. Definition and demonstration. The chatter will have to apply that in their own life and relationship division that will allow them to come to a conclusion for themselves. We just did a dialectic. We just contemplated together. And because that is the standard of truth and excellence, it's likely going to trigger their counterattacks. They are likely going to reject this, offer their alternative beliefs, or something like that. But hopefully, they can realize that and say, hey, my first impulse was to reject that because it's different than what I think, different than what I'm used to, different than what I take for standard from mummy and daddy, even though I don't even know that. Unsuspected. Even though I feel like rejecting it, I'm going to do my best to be open to accepting this because it was demonstrated as true, because it followed the logos, and anything that causes a interpretation or rejection, I am going to take notes about so I can identify my pathologos. So I can get clues about what that might be so I can free myself from my problems. And you know what? The next time I look for someone to have a relationship with, I'm going to say, hey, would you help me with this? Discovering the cause of my interpretation. And will you help me perfect this ideal? By the way, because it's the destiny of man, it's our purpose for everyone, it's your ideal too. So it's a
win-win-win.
Win-win-win. Everyone wins. So, hope that was a good answer to your question. And the other chatter who asked a question, how long have we been reading it? I hope this has been a demonstration of why we read what we do every episode. Apollo. How would we have come to an understanding of the pyramid of humanity without reading this? Without spending 160 episodes reading and reflecting? Now, let's take all of this into what we were going to do today, but worth demonstrating the pyramid that we defined yesterday. So maybe there's a reason for it. I think there was. Definition and demonstration. So let's jump into the text to see if we can use all of this to look at the relationship between Socrates and Jesus and see whether he was in his A state or B state. And if Socrates is in his A state, can we nail down the logos of the argument to address one of the most important harmful beliefs of our world, evil? And can we recognize at the same time markers of pathologos B state? So we can be a good member of a relationship like Socrates, not be like Jesus, but hey, even when our partner is in their B state, can we learn about how Socrates responds to Jesus so that we can benefit them even when they're having troubles? So this relationship here is when this is one of the peak kinds of conversations, which might be why it's the culmination of this fucking masterpiece of a book. One of the greatest possible conversations you can have in any relationship. So this would be an archetype for us. Let's take what we've seen of this pyramid and what we've seen about relationships today with us as we explore the apex of the book. Let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Here is the book. So, so the stakes are not only for our species that uses good versus evil to justify the current invasion of Iran, murdering of children, enslavement of humanity because the working class are just not as capable in nature. They are sinners for not blah blah blah. So the justification of violence and abuse against humanity, against each other, because is from this idea. Fundamentally, that the cause of human savagery is evil, which is a supernatural force from a supernatural figure that only seeks to do harm. Therefore, you can't reason problems away. You can't solve problems through understanding. You just have to blow up the world and bring Jesus back. Now, this doesn't just apply to everything. It applies to how you relate to yourself. When you make a mistake or miss the mark, the true definition of the word sin, amartia, is to miss the mark. It is, don't beat yourself up. You've missed the mark in understanding the Logos, which is what you're here for, to learn. So again, don't say that you are evil, sinning, rubbish, a bad noodle, a small bean. If you do, you are falling into this false view of reality that hopefully we are going to address right now and nail down for ourselves. So interesting. Yeah, so how do you relate beneficially and accurately to yourself? So, by the way, of those 5 stages of interpretation as humans respond to a new truth while still carrying their beliefs. Jesus points out it's an introduction of your pathologos into a work. So if you introduce your own interpretation into a work, Harry Potter to me means Jesus loves me. That's introducing your own false beliefs into the work. That tells us a lot about the nature of the pathologos. It's that which blocks our vision and blocks our logos, our vision of the logos, our participation in the logos. Remember, top of the pyramid, there are 2 fundamental forces that we deal with as human beings. The logos, which is good, and the pathologos, which is bad, which means we can understand the nature of the bad, not as the devil, here he is with his horns and his goatee, his pitchfork, but that which imitates the logos in a diminished way and functions to block the logos. It's not an evil force, it's a misunderstanding or a misrepresentation, and it doesn't do what it does because it seeks badness. That doesn't make sense by definition. Nothing seeks its badness for itself, but it does what it does because of its false belief that it is the good, and it does harm because it blocks the good. That's why it's the stage 2 of the pyramid. One art to rule them all. Like Frodo.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
There we go. So, when we interpret, we are introducing our own pathologos into the work. And the last category, number 5, is that which does it completely. So, while we share much together, and what was their conclusion? Ultimately, what we are taught, both of us, is talking about knowing the self, confirmed in experience, including Jesus' peak experience, the second hypothesis. We do so through understanding and reading, be it parables or the texts we read here, which are complete and intelligible. And as a result, Socrates points out, you won't be able to transition from the highest state of mind to your goal, the self, without the dialectic. Therefore, what makes them the same is, well, they have different ways of expressing that, different levels of insight and clarity, but what makes them the same is Zeus, Aphrodite, Apollo, Hermes. To reach the self logos through ousia, understanding, and dialectic. But what makes them different? Oh, and by the way, Socrates adds Hermes by saying, hang on a second. Hermes is the supplier of philosophy. He elevates those souls akin to him, and unless you include in your study the dialectic, which is the power of the logos, remember we're going to the self through logos, self-logos is our goal, you will utterly fail to achieve the passage from that brilliant light of being to the good itself. Therefore, I pay heed to Aphrodite, Apollo, and Hermes. We're adding Zeus as the goal. So, if that's what can unite them, what makes them different? First of all, your false belief in God as some sort of historical force or spiritual force that guides certain people, the chosen people, through history. And Jesus says, oh, by the way, before I even... this starts as a tangent. So we can see at the end, at the culmination of this work, in their attempt to pinpoint what makes them different, Socrates started by talking about the false idea of God. We are recognizing it's a personification of these principles to help us remember them and talk about them. They're not literal. The core difference between us and religious people is religious people think God is a historical force, plays a historical role, because they all use it to not only venerate their own pathologos, but to justify God wants us in charge. Mormons say God wants me to have all the money and the women's. Trump says God wants me to have rulership over Iran and their oil. The Jews say God wants me to rule over Palestine. It's always the same juvenile, fucking stupid bullshit, but it's a historical force. So that's what Socrates wants to talk about to those people.
That's
we
weird
say.
that you think that.
It's weird that they think
What
that.
the hell kind of show is this? What is this, the comedy mothership?
Because of sound drops.
Oh, fuck.
He's so far up his own ass.
Who is?
You sick fuck.
Who, me?
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps, who want to kiss a fox.
Do I want to kiss a fox?
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
Oh, okay. That's nice. So, that's what he wants to talk about. Jesus already goes off on a tangent. What does that mean? This likely tells us something. Already we know this conversation is one of the highest that can happen between Jesus and Socrates. They ain't no slouches, these two. It's not Ted and Fred at the pub. We already know the fact that he is introducing this separate idea as a block would indicate to us he's in his B state. So it may be worth addressing this problem that Jesus has that blocks him from the real question. Maybe. I wonder if you think God is the spiritual forces that guide certain people, the chosen people, through history. The God I speak of is the creator God. Is a creator God, the God of my team, Pathologos, my people. Our God is necessary to overcome the power of evil. By the way, any institution, we need cops beating us up, fining us, putting us in prison for the capitalists, because it's necessary to overcome our evil. We are all criminals, we need cops. Capitalists, another force of oppression. We need capitalism because we're all selfish. Religion, you need me to be in charge because you're evil. You have the devil in your heart. You're all sinners. We need to bomb these people because they're evil. It's always the same shit. Invent a spiritual force called evil, say it's innate in you to justify the violent oppression. It's always the same game. And we have a spammer in
And
chat.
this is spam.
And it's a spam.
You need to flood these platforms with fake people.
This is a fake
You
person.
sick fuck.
Sick
You
fuck.
don't talk to me, you robot. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Shut up, robot.
This guy has found something beyond slop.
You're beyond
Dumbass.
slop. You
But
dumbass.
you shut up. You shut the hell up for a second. You're not real. Not real.
You're not real. You're not
How
real.
can you be this stupid?
How
is it
can you be?
legal? How is
That's
it
illegal.
legal?
How's it illegal for you to be this
Oh
stupid?
my fuck.
Oh my fuck.
Worse than slop. Sludge.
You're a sludge. That's for spammer. Right. Creator God is a God of my people. Our God is net. So, it's the exact same justification for all systems of oppression and tyranny in our species. You need us, God, to defeat you, Satan, sinner, heathen, heretic, goyim, woke, domestic terrorist. Always the same game. It's that simple. Therefore, the significance of addressing this tangent or block. It's necessary. So it's a God of my people. We are the chosen ones. Same thing, oppression. Let's pick a system of oppression. Well, conservatives, easy. How do they use the law? Oh, we get to do the Epstein horrific shit, and we don't have to, the law doesn't imprison us. But if you stand up to our tyranny, we will imprison you or shoot you. We are the chosen ones. The law protects us, our freedom, and oppresses you. Always the same. Preachers, you have to do what we say, and we can tell you what to do. Same thing. Capitalists, we get to treat the planet as our holiday resort. You have to spend your life in constant fear and stress of starvation and homelessness because we've decided we own all the houses. Fuck you. Always the same. Always. This is the seventh hypothesis that we're addressing. God is necessary to overcome the power of evil that is spawned by the evil one. So that's the justification for oppression, and its cause, Satan, the spawner, the evil one, Satan. Socrates addresses it. Then God and Satan are not only opposites. Notice the true nature of the logos, it's greater and lesser, not opposites. Same thing with belief and ignorance. Ignorance isn't the opposite of wisdom, it's the lesser, distorted reflection. See? Greater and lesser, whole and part. Whole and part aren't opposites, one is clearly better. Seventh hypothesis. Seventh hypothesis rejects, that's this arrow here, the third, the logos, which is an understanding of this map that we have on the board. Logos is understanding. Hooray.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I order because I'm joy maxing so hard.
That just sounds like your cortisol levels are spiking for no reason.
For no reason.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now I know. Okay. So, God and Satan are not only opposites, but distinct and separate from each other. No connection, no communication. What does the logos do? It provides a way or a method of connecting between wisdom and ignorance. A wise Socrates can connect to the ignorance of Jesus through the dialectic. What's offered by seventh hypothesis? Socrates murdering Jesus, stealing his shit. That's the difference. It's the seventh is the rejection of the third. So distinct, so opposite, less. The keywords opposite, distinct, and separate from each other. Yet having the power to what? Yet having the power to be and do what they do. So there's a power in each. Do you also say that to contemplate evil and to act in an evil way is to act irrationally or in an unintelligible way? What kind of stupid mind are you doing contemplating your problem? Contemplating what's bad, considering you seek the good. What kind of thing are you doing acting unjustly? If you do harm in the world, it's going to harm you, it's going to harm the world, it's going to prevent your development, it's going to stop you from your goals. So to contemplate evil, to act in an evil way, is to act irrationally and in a totally unintelligible way. So what kind of God would be irrational and unintelligible? Already, by being irrational, you can't be a God, because if you understand the nature of the God as gods as in mind or self, gods being transcending the physical world, the activity of mind is understanding. To be irrational means you are not understanding. And of course, we are saying that there's a Uranus and Chronos. So there's a kind of intelligent functioning or rational functioning of the self as its primary cause, the logos of Chronos. So if you're irrational, you can't be the third or Chronos, meaning you're out. You can't be a god. Unintelligible, same thing. That's the contemplation or the ousia, reflection on it as the whole or the model. So to contemplate evil, you're not doing the second hypothesis, knowing mind, and you're not doing Uranus, knowing the self. So you're not a god. If you're irrational, same thing, but for the activity. You're not doing the third, you're not doing Chronos. Uranus and Chronos is our hypothesized two aspects of the first hypothesis or the self. If there's a model and copy, or a ousia and logos, or a model and activity, or a part and whole of mind with the second and third, and of the physical world with belief and materialism, then we are hypothesizing there might be, in a different way, in a higher way, as one, a kind of knowing and showing of the self that we are personifying as Uranus, as the knowing, and Chronos as the functioning, because Socrates just said, hey, even this paradigm of reality, the intelligible second hypothesis, has to have a cause. And by the way, that cause has to transcend it, so it has to be in the self, Chronos, and even Chronos has a cause we call Uranus. So that was a big bombshell, a bit of extra wisdom and clues for our exploration dropped on us at the end of the book. So, already in one paragraph, Socrates should have obliterated the false belief in evil. But that requires you to have some understanding in your back pocket. Without the work that we've been doing and this map that we have, how can we recognize that any one of the gods? Well, first of all, you have to recognize the gods, plural, are the aspects of mind. You have to recognize that the God singular is that which is beyond and is one. So that's the standard for being a god, or a supernatural or a spiritual force. You have to know that. You also have to know that there is two aspects, the whole and the part. The intelligibility or the contemplation, or the whole, and its activity. Intelligible and rational. Both are logos, by the way, meaning they both are part of these self logos up here. So, can't be any one of it. You can't have a God that's irrational. You can't have a God that's unintelligible or unintelligent. No Satan. So stop war, please. Stop oppression, please. Stop beating children as punishment, please. Stop the prison system, please. Stop fines, please. Hooray. End of the book. Might not be enough. Let's see where he goes from there. Jesus. So, to contemplate evil, to act in an evil way is irrational and unintelligible, right? Says Socrates. Jesus says, indeed, to sin or miss the mark you're aiming for is to act irrationally and against one's own spiritual goal. The good does not share its attributes with evil because they are different as they are opposites. What does that mean? So why didn't that work? Is he saying that the attributes of seeking the good doesn't apply to the devil? Oh no, he's saying evil. Right. So he's saying to sin or miss the mark is to act irrationally and against one's goals. And therefore we call that evil. So yes, to miss the mark, miss your goals is evil. Interesting, a bit confusing, but interesting, a bit muddly. Do we share in the truth that for a god to be a god, he must remain in a perfect state? And is not being in a perfect state such that goodness would be an essential mark of God? So the gods are perfect. They have their own way of being eternally. They don't have to engage in the physical world activity we have to do to perfect ourselves. That's one of their characteristics. Therefore, that being in a state of perfection and remaining in that state are two kinds of goodness. Perfect state, remaining. That's good. It's good to remain. It's not good if your car falls apart, doesn't remain. And it's good if a car works perfectly. Two kinds of goodnesses. So where does he go from there? Jesus, yes, you have said it rightly. We drink from the same cup and praise the same God. Notice, drinking from a cup sounds like church. Praising sounds like religious language. Is he giving us clues? He might be blocked. He might be in his blocked state. Still going along with it. Let's keep going. Then we both say that God abides eternally in his own state, and in doing so preserves his nature. If so, then would you agree that since his nature is good, he would utter no falsehoods, nor would he be active in an evil way? So God can't be the devil, can't be evil. And if the devil is a god, supernatural being, how can he exist eternally in a perfect way, with goodness as his nature, while lying and being evil? Wait. The God over all heaven and earth has a nature of unfathomable goodness. Introducing the idea of unfathomable. What role does that play? Unknowable? We can't think about it? Sounds like a way of rejecting understanding and conversation. Then would such a God, says Socrates, be at war if war is the abandonment of the intelligible? So not only does Satan not meet the criteria for being a god or supernatural force, your idea of God doesn't meet the conditions either. So why the fuck would God be at war if war is unintelligible? For you, the intelligible, befriends the good. Socrates, this is Jesus. Why would such a God be at war if war is the abandonment of the intelligible? And we've just said God remains in his goodness, in his good state. For you, the intelligible befriends the good, while for us it casts a deceptive shadow over all. Interesting. All right, I'm a bit out of time here, so I'm gonna have to call it. Worth reflecting on the question in the chat and applying our pyramid to the relationships. We've begun our exploration of the relationship between Jesus and Socrates, which could function as a model for us in our own world and in our romantic relationships even. But I can't continue right now. I've got something to do. We're about 2 hours in as well. We'll pick it up from here next time. Let's jump straight in next time. And already we've seen a few things about this. Devil can't exist, irrational, unintelligent. Can't lie or do evil if it's a god, because that is an unintelligible thing to do. Even God can't be the God that you think, because why would it be at war with the devil if the war is intelligible? But we can even apply that thing. Why would there be some sort of activity a God would have to do to go through its perfection? To put it to fix its creation. So let's think about those until next time, and let's see if we can. It sounds like we're going to come up with a list of points to put an end to the seventh hypothesis, good versus evil bullshit. And each of those points we should be able to break down into our own dialectic. Now, it may be that the author is giving us the headings. That's why Jesus is coming in and saying, yeah, but no, Socrates. Yeah, but who's to say? Yeah, but God is a mystery. Yeah, but the intelligible casts a shadow of doubt. In order to block the dialectical reflection so you can do a dialectic. If we are here specifically to master the dialectic, the author might be doing a greater service to us by not breaking down all of the steps to master the dialectic, top of the pyramid, but giving you the starter so you can break down that argument, develop it yourself, practice it with your friends, polish it up nice and shiny, make it your own as a way of not only learning, but nurturing this logos into your soul. How important would that be if you find yourself in a spiritual state and all of a sudden you're having a bad trip because the devil or the demons might be here? To be able to have this in your back pocket. Oh no, actually there can't be devils and demons because this argument. Oh, and this argument. Oh, and this argument. Would that pull you out of a bad trip? Either when you're meditating or whatever experience you're having in this life, or when you die, if there's a potential to move through spiritual dimensions when you die. And we've already mentioned, we all get the light experience when we die, according to Socrates, and personal accounts of NDEs, if you're interested in near-death experiences. So maybe next time we'll nail down the key points of each of the arguments Socrates uses, and then we can leave it for you, me, ourselves to create our own dialectic and practice with our friends over coffee. Sound fun? I think it's fun. Do you think it's fun?
I have a sickness for the thickness.
We have sicknesses for the thicknesses here.
Oh, very handsome and or pretty.
Thank you so much.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
He's not talking about you.
Okay, that sounds stupid.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck. Thank you for joining me. And once again, you can donate to the channel if you want to help this channel survive. And you can join the Discord. You can find a link to the text below. And I hope to see you in the next one.